Good morning and welcome to this review of The Last Days of the Dinosaurs, an Asteroid, Extinction and the Beginning of Our World by Riley Black. As it's an audiobook, I can't pick it up and wave it around the screen, and instead I thought I'd wave a real live dinosaur. This is Reapy Cheep the cockatiel. He isn't interested in the video at all. He'd much rather go and play with his toys. But I bring him here as an illustration because one thing that Riley Black does throughout is she illustrates the difference between avian and non-avian dinosaurs. So, here's an avian dinosaur that survived the extinction. Before we get into the book, I think I should probably talk about the extinction. The extinction, when I was a kid and when I was at uni, was called the KT mass extinction for the Cretaceous the Cretaceous Tertiary mass extinction. It was also called the end of the age of reptiles and the beginning of the third tertiary age of life on Earth. That has changed. Apparently I'm not allowed to call it the KT extinction anymore, though I probably would. It's called something else with a PK. KPG? Cap. It's called something else. Whatever. Anyway, so I hadn't heard of Riley Black and I hadn't heard of this book. I needed an audiobook to see me back from, I think it was Rockhampton to Gold Coast. I'd finished The Emperor of Thorns, which was wonderful. I've reviewed that one already. I needed something very different. I needed something that wasn't sci-fi and I needed something that wasn't fantasy because I needed a change of pace. I'd enjoyed the last one so much. So I went into this one. It had good ratings and good reviews. Sight unseen, I did this one and it was great. This was one of the best books about dinosaurs I've read to date. Some things that the online says about it is that it is the winner of the AAAS Subaru Prize for Excellence in Science Books. Haven't heard of that prize, but I like Subaru as a car, so hooray. And Publishers Weekly, also never heard of them, claim this is top drawer science writing. Do I agree with that? Not entirely. This is top drawer popular science writing. It takes popular science to a whole new level because Riley Black's descriptions are amazing. They're organic, they are beautiful, they're elaborate, and they're backed by science, without which I probably wouldn't be involved. But the actual real beauty of the way they describe the dinosaurs is going to make it top-notch popular science, because science writing integrally has to be a little bit dull and dry because scientists want facts and they want background and they want explanations for how the facts were achieved. A popular reader wants something organic and lush, and this Riley Black excels at. The details are all there, but they're given in very manageable blocks, and then they go into this amazing descriptive process that makes you feel like you're reading fantasy. And yes, I'm sure there's people out there that believe that dinosaurs are fantasy and the world was created 200 years ago or something, but most of us accept the age of dinosaurs is real. So in the introduction, there is this bit, and I can't remember if it's the first part, but the author starts with describing a normal day of dinosaurs 66 million years ago in Hell Creek. Hell Creek is in America, Montana, I believe, and it's apparently a mecca for paleontologists. It sounds like it's an area that the author knows really, really well. So on a sunny afternoon in Hell Creek before the asteroid struck, the author goes into this lush, gorgeous detail of this forested area with a Triceratops horridus, still my favourite dinosaur, ambling through the edge of the forest, a Tyrannosaurus Rex wandering through their territory. We don't know how the Triceratops felt about things, and we don't know for sure that Tyrannosaurus had a territory. We can't tell the behaviour from the paleontology. But we can make some assumptions about them based on their body type, what we do know about them, and while a lot of this book is fictionized, it is still best guess based on animals that live today and what we know about those used to live. The author then goes into the cause of the disaster, the asteroid, and there's a lot about the asteroid, where it's come from, its velocity when it smashes into Earth, and what happens next. So we have this before and after thing, where we've got the dinosaurs, the surface of the Earth, the beauty. We've got smack comes into the Yucatan Peninsula, I think it was, and what happens to Earth. And it is described so vividly. It's basically like Friday the 13th fires in Australia, covering the whole world. And while the author concentrates mostly on Hell Creek, we get these little snapshots from other places. New Zealand, for example, where ferns became a big thing in the aftermath. India, which at that stage was still disconnected from the mainland Asia, as a lecturer in geology that I had at uni used to say. And then India raced up the Indian Ocean at a rate of 3 millimeters every 100 years. It was great. He was great. PJ. But yeah, what Riley Black does is all the best things of science. Those of us who are into science, there's small gems of memory that we've got, like my geology lecturer, for example. And they're part of the things that's built into our love of science and our fascination with the natural world and what science can do to help us know it. So much of that joy and beauty and those small gem-like moments are in the last days of the dinosaurs. So it really makes the whole reading experience delightful. I'm reasonably certain that it would be as delightful for a non-science background person. So after we pass the asteroid, slams into the Yucatan Peninsula, devastation throughout, as the author says in the introduction, that often is where the story of the dinosaurs and their extinction ends. So this asteroid hits the Earth, end of the matter. No. If you as a child were the person who wanted to know what happened next, Riley Black does this for you. What happens the day after, when the animals are, for the most part, dead, but some aren't? The burrowers survived, some things survived. What happened a year after? The years, the centuries, and millions of years are given in these little bite-sized slices of what's happening, both in Hell Creek, which didn't do too well overall, around the world, how the various animals that live in fresh water survived, how the animals in the ocean survived. And this is incredibly rounded, and it's really quite exciting. For me, the marine environment is always going to be the primary thing of interest, and many people who've written about the dinosaurs and the KT extinction, they don't really go into the ocean a great deal, or they only go into the ocean. They don't really marry the two up very much. Riley Black does. Riley Black gives us botany. Riley Black gives us the rise of the flowering plants, the angiosperms. Not too many people do that. Botanists do. But then the people talking about the KT extinction, they just say, oh yes, and then we had the rise of the flowering plants. And that's it. We want more. Riley Black delivers. The long-term destruction of the ammonites is another thing that is never really talked about. The ammonites didn't end with the KT extinction. They ended quite a while later. But this book gives us a background for how it might have happened, and gives us the stresses upon the ocean, which relies on primary production as much as the land. So on the land, all the big primary producers, the conifers and the cycads, they suffered in the fires, and some of them came back. No, we don't eat books. This is why Ripichi doesn't like these experiences. He isn't allowed to eat the books that surround me, and he objects to that. So yes, plant life. But in the ocean, all the plankton were under stress as well, because the same cloud covered the earth and prevented photosynthesis. So you've got all these things, all these really exciting parts of this ecological event that are tied together, and they're tied together beautifully with a light touch. I really do think that this is a book for everyone. As I said, I'd never heard of the author, but apparently I had heard of My Beloved Brontosaurus, but I hadn't read or seen it. I'm now looking for other books by this author, because scientists do things well. It's not always the descriptive bit. And I absolutely adored this book. I didn't have high hopes for it when I borrowed it, so I was very, very pleasantly surprised. New York Times bestseller quote is, "This is pop science that reads like a fantasy book novel but backed up by hard facts and the latest fossil discoveries." I agree with that. Because I don't follow paleontology specifically, I hadn't heard of a lot of the discoveries and a lot of the things that are represented in this book. So it did have new things for me, but I can't tell you what off the top of my head, unfortunately. What really stands forth in this book is the beauty and the experience of reading it. KPG, that's it. That's what we're meant to call it now. Sounds like a fast food, whatever. And throughout this book you find a little bit about the author, but that's their story to tell. I'm not going to tell them that. At the end we have a personal journey to a place where you can actually see the layers. That was pretty good. It's a hard book to end up, because really the end of the last days of the dinosaurs is 2024 and you can't take it that far. So the author chose to end this book on a little bit of personal experience and what geology means to them. That was great. Two things. I listened to it as an audiobook. The narrator wasn't bad, but I didn't love them. There was a wistful, naif element to their reading, which probably wasn't my favourite. Didn't hate it, didn't love it. It was okay. In the introduction, if I hadn't been in a car on a highway, I'm not sure I'd have made it through the introduction. I didn't think the introduction was very good. I didn't think the introduction did the job. It didn't pull me in. It made me quite suspicious of what was going to follow. So I didn't love that. And if you, like me, have picked up this book or the audiobook, you listen to the introduction and you go, not sure about this one, I recommend skip ahead, start chapter 1, because with chapter 1, the Hell Creek and the dinosaurs, and it all starts unfolding. Thank you very much for listening to this review. Come on, Rippy Cheap, say, I am a dinosaur. I am a dinosaur. No, he's taught me to say cheap though, so that's something. Happy reading, read good books. This one is an excellent book, and if you are at all intrigued by dinosaurs, I thoroughly recommend that you read this good book. Thanks for watching.